Welcome to Engage South KC, where we are inspired by Jesus impacting our city and the world.
Living this way is an art form that is best when practiced together. We do this together by resisting apathy,
Welcoming everyone and making sure no one is left out.
participating in remedying the concerns of those around us and around the world.
Telling our stories, and just by actually being, eating, and doing life together.
We believe that every day is another chance to live by faith
Labor in love.
and endure with hope. Join us, create with us, as we follow the brushstrokes of the Creator.
Welcome to Engage South KC.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light you'll see, no, I won't be afraid, no, I won't be afraid, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand by me, stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand by me, stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand by me, stand by me, darling, darling, stand by me, oh, stand by me, oh, stand by me, stand by me. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. We declare who He is, 'cause you are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, and my God, that is who you are. Sing that again, yes you are. And you are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, and my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Even every life, you are here, than every life. I worship you, I worship you. Turning lives around, and you are here, Lord. Turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. Mending every heart, you are here. Mending every heart. And I worship you, Lord. I worship you, God. For you are way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Yes, it is. You are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Sing it again. Oh, you are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Yes, it is. You are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. We tell them, oh, that is who you are. Yes, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Yes, it is. That is who you are. God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Even when we don't see it, and even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop. Sing that again. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop. You are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Yes, it is. You are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Tell them, oh, that is who you are. 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 Yes, it is. That is who you are. 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 Yes, it is the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. Yes, it is. Yeah, you are the way maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God. That is who you are. 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 Yes, it is. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. And then sings my soul, my how great thou art. How great thou art. Oh, how great thou art. Then sings our souls, and then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art. The voices raise that up again, and then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. Oh, how great thou art. Yes, you are. How great thou art. And then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Sing it over the city, just that last line. How great thou art, Jesus. How great thou art. Praise
Hey, online engaged family, it's official. Happy summer. The Langs rang in summer solstice in New York City. And let me tell you, I don't drive in the city unless I absolutely have to. In fact, the one time that I drove in the city this week, I took out a brick pillar. I wish I was kidding about that, but I'm not. So we take public transit, needless to say. And if you've never taken the subway before, here's how it works. You enter the station. There are signs around that say things like N train to Astoria Ditmas Boulevard or W train to Uptown. And you're like, Uptown? Do I want to go uptown or do I want to go downtown? I don't know. And there are no employees, at least ones who will help. Generally, the signs don't say your stop unless you're going to the last stop on the line, because that's what they say. So you look at a map, if you can find one on the wall, or look it up on your phone, and you make a best guess. And the kicker is that sometimes trains get put on express and they skip stops. So even if you're on the correct train, it's possible it won't even stop your stop because of track work or train maintenance or whatever, right? So you pick the train, you get on a train, and you listen with a bated breath for an announcer to tell you what the next stop is. But about 90% of the time, the announcer's voice is completely indistinguishable. Here's what it sounds like. It's like that character from Peanuts, the wah, 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 wah that we can't understand. Now, even if I'm fairly confident that I'm doing it right, it generally takes a few days for me to adjust to navigating this mode of transportation, no matter what city I'm in. And then, of course, there's like the whole ecosystem of trains to adjust to. There's the train buskers who sing as we ride, which I love, which is really cool. There's people in arguments. There's those who are mentally ill. There's people who are asking for money. In fact, this trip, I had one guy tell me that he doesn't shoot people anymore. Now he just asks for money. So that was like really reassuring. I felt great about that. So as I was on the train, I started thinking about what it's like to find our lanes in life, to figure out what we're gifted to do, what we're passionate about, and how to start doing those things, to start moving in the right direction, to continue the train metaphor. Sometimes it can feel hard to navigate, but engaged functioning as a healthy, vibrant community requires that we can each figure out what our lanes are and support one another. Engage's lane, as we know, is being inspired by Jesus, impacting our city and the world. And we do that by living by faith, laboring in love, and enduring with hope. That's that 1 Thessalonians 1:3, our guiding verse. But you can see that there's a lot of room for individual expression within this model, and that's on purpose. We're all going to be living by faith and enduring in hope through different things, but that laboring in love is going to look a little different for each of us. The laboring in love is this amalgamation of all of us laboring in our own ways together and individually. It's just like the subway is a system of different trains and different lanes that intersect and make up a whole. Sometimes trains are rerouted temporarily to other tracks to help out, and sometimes we help other people with their passions and their giftings. But that doesn't mean that we stay in that lane all of the time. I think we all have people who we have known who are trying to do things that they shouldn't do. Sometimes people say, oh, they're trying too hard. Well, maybe they're just not operating in their giftings. They're trying to do things they really want to do. And I think we can learn to do things, but we're also uniquely gifted to do specific things. And we do well to figure those things out and get in that lane, right? You don't want like a really grumpy, introverted person being the front desk person at a business where a lot of people come in, right? Or the hospitality lead at a restaurant, right? You want somebody who's gifted in hospitality, who's gifted in interpersonal communication, that kind of thing. So it's important that we're all in our right lanes. We each have been gifted, and to honor those gifts, we need to work in those giftings and not just hop in someone else's lane because we think it looks fun or we think it might be easier than our own lane. I think about the story of Jonah, right? And how Jonah ran off and did something that he shouldn't have done. He ignored God's call because he didn't want to do it, because it was too hard, it was too frustrating, he didn't agree with what God asked him to do. So God gave us gifts for a reason, though. He has plans. He made us to impact the world around us. Jeremiah 29:11, you know it, you love it. It says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, and they're plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And that hope and a future are things that will help us inspire and encourage others too, right? We're living through difficult times right now, and hope and future are things that not a lot of people feel like they have. But what if we could share our hope with others? What if we could give them insight to a future that has more hope for them? That's a thing, you guys. That's a thing. That's how we can impact our world today. So what happens though when we're living in our lanes and we intersect with one another at church or work or other areas of life? I met this guy named Ben in New York, and he's a really good example of that. Ben owns Between the Bagel, and this is an amazing shop that sells breakfast in the morning and Korean food for lunch. And this guy is legit. He is like living in his lane. He encourages every last person who comes in. And in fact, like by the second time that we came in, he recognized us and he knew my order, exactly how I liked it. He knew how the kids like their bagels. He, was asking, oh, did you want to do, the pumpernickel today? Or are you skipping on the pumpernickel today? And I was like, my mind was blown. But you could see that Ben was in his lane. He shared his hope and his enthusiasm and his joy and his love for food and for just like taking care of people. I think the people aspect was above the food, but that food, you guys, if you're ever in the Astoria neighborhood of New York City, hit up Ben. That food, oh my goodness, the bagels were fire. The fried potatoes, though, I don't think I've had better anywhere. I mean, it is made for love. This is like world-changing, life-changing food because of the approach, because Ben's operating his line and he's caring for other people. And the funny thing is, like, so often in the church, we pretend that the only way to operate in our lanes is to be super churchy. But everything that we do in our lives, we can use the giftings that God gave us and impact other people, make a positive impact on the world around us by encouraging and caring and sharing with one another. That's what this community is about. We want to be a community of encouragers. We want to be a community of people who are living our best lives together for the glory of God. Inspired by Jesus, impacting our city and the world, and we want to do it together. But how do we do this? How do we figure out what our lanes are in life? Well, I think lanes come down to a specific formula, which is not very scientific at all, but I think it'll help you get there. Lanes equal gifts plus passions. And we've talked about those two things in the past. Last service, Pastor Jason talked about the Apostle Paul's outline of gifts in 1 Corinthians chapters 12 through 14. And you can go read through all three of those chapters if you're curious and if you need a refresher. But Paul talks about gifts being given to members of the church for the common good. He describes it like we're all different parts of the same body in chapter 12. And each part of the body is unique and serves unique purpose. And these gifts that come from the Spirit unite us because we need one another. And when we get up each day, we have to live like someone else is dependent on us being who God created us to be, because they are. They need us and we need them. So let's start by sharing our gifts. If you haven't taken a spiritual gifts assessment, I encourage you to do that. But we are going to put a list of spiritual gifts up on the screen in case you don't know what your gifts are if you haven't taken the assessment. I want you to look at these gifts and kind of try to determine what your possible gifts are. And I want you to share those with others near you and post it in chat what you think your gifts are. Now, up next are passions. Passions are your who and your what. What groups of people hold a special place in your heart? Maybe it's minorities or single moms, refugees, etc. Who are your people? And then there's the what. What issues get you riled up, excited, get your blood pumping, get you ready to go to war, ready to go out and stand up for people? Fight for what's right. Maybe it's housing or lack of clean water or fair working conditions, etc. What's your what? What thing has God put on your heart? I want you to take a moment and just think about your passions. And I want you to share your who and your what with the people around you and post that in chat. Guess what? Now you know your lane. You know how you're gifted, who and what you should engage. But the next question is how those lanes intersect with engage and others around us. That's the call to unity that Paul references in 1 Corinthians. We'll call these intersections. Intersections are how we can work together. And this will require processing and conversation. And once we start doing this, we want to celebrate together. These are our shared stories. At in-person worship, we'll have a place to post stories of how we've operated in our lanes and ways we've intersected with one another. For those of you online, we want you to send your stories to engagesouthkc@gmail.com, and we're going to share those virtually. We want to celebrate how God is working in us and through us and with us to impact our cities and the world. But until we have more stories to share, let's do a little brainstorming on intersections, how we're going to work together. 1 Corinthians 12 verses 25 through 27 says, parts of the body should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now, you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. The question is, how can we be more unified body, operating in our own lanes and supporting one another? Now, think back over the gifts and the passions of others around you. I want you to share ways that your gifts and passions might intersect. Share ways you've been considering using your gifts and ways others can be cheerleaders for you, because we're in this together. Feel free to post those thoughts and comments in the chat as you go. Now, friends, a part of being the body of Christ, being the church, is functioning together. So let's be each other's biggest cheerleaders. Let's be inspired by Jesus to impact our city and the world together. So until next time, go in peace and serve the Lord.